For most people, a living room is the hub of the home, where people relax and socialize with family and friends. The word living room was first used in the 19th century, but in reality they existed well before this. The way that living rooms have been used, their decor and their furnishings have changed significantly over time. Why for most people a living room is the hub of the home, where people relax and socialize with family and friends. The word living room was first used in the 19th century, but in reality they existed well before this. The way that living rooms have been used, their decor and their furnishings have changed significantly over time. Why for most people a living room is the hub of the home, where people relax and socialize with family and friends. Common living room activities include watching television, reading, playing with children, and, for some, eating. The word living room was first used in the 19th century, but in reality they existed well before this. The way that living rooms have been used, their decor and their furnishings have changed significantly over time. Why back in the 1600s living rooms were called parlors and were used to socialize and entertain guests. They were also used for dining. They were much more formal than they tend to be nowadays, and hierarchies were clearly displayed with the use of chairs. The householder, who was always a man, would sit in a chair called it the great chair, which was a way of showing his authority and standing. His wife and children would sit in upholstered chairs, while others sat on joined stools. In the second half of the 17th century, musical instruments, books and games began to be introduced into parlors, and they became more of a place for relaxation as well as a place for entertaining. Common furniture during the 1600s included upholstered chairs, large dining tables, pianos, boardrooms and books, especially the Bible. Why in the 1700s drawing rooms began to be introduced in upper-class household. These were typically used for formal entertaining, while parlors were more family-oriented relaxation areas. Chairs and tables remain very similar, as in the previous century, while upholstered chairs and pianos were common drawing room furnishings. Why by the 1850s it was no longer the norm to dine in living rooms, as they were used exclusively for relaxation and entertainment. A connected dining room became usual in newly built homes, separating eating and relaxation. Decor typically consisted of carpets and rugs and window shutters, while upholstered sofas and coffee tables were popular additions to many living rooms. Musical instruments and books were amongst the things used for entertainment. Why to an extent living rooms became more minimalist in the 1900s, and more craftsmanship became used in furnishings. Overall there was more variety. Early in the 20th century they were still fairly formal, although less so than previously. Technology began to play a central role in the living room, with this beginning with radios. The whole family would regularly gather around listening to the radio. Later in the 20th century there were many changes. Society as a whole became less formal and living rooms followed suit. Televisions began to be introduced and became the centerpiece of living rooms. It also became more common once again to dine in living rooms, with this often depending on the size of a home, whether or not they had a separate dining room. Comfort became more important, with sofas and chairs being chosen accordingly. So far there has been little change in living rooms since the end of the 20th century. Computers and games consoles have become more prevalent in general and are sometimes found in living rooms. This, rather than being something new, is a continuing trend that began in the late 1900s.